Imagine waking up at 3 a.m. No light. No sound from the fridge. Your phone, dead. You reach for the light switch out of habit. Nothing. Now imagine that's not just your house. That's your entire city, your entire state. The grid is down. Most people in that moment think about two things: flashlights and bottled water. And yeah, those matter. But there are 7 systems baked into your everyday life that will silently, completely collapse, and nobody is talking about them. Not the news, not your city, not even most preppers. And when these 7 things stop working, survival stops being about comfort. It becomes about whether you make it through the week. Stay with me. Because number 4 on this list is the one that has killed people in modern American cities. Within 72 hours, I'm your host on American Blackout TV. And today we're going where most survival channels won't. Not the obvious stuff, the hidden stuff. Let's get into it. Number 1, running water, your tap lies to you. Most Americans have no idea how water actually gets to their tap. They think it just comes, like magic. Here's the truth. Every single drop of water in your home depends on electrically powered pumping stations running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When the grid drops, those pumps stop. 4 to 8 hours. Average time before municipal water pressure drops to 0 after a grid failure. Now here's what makes this brutal. Most American homes have a water heater that holds 40 to 80 gallons. That's your emergency reserve if you act fast. But the average person doesn't know that. They're running faucets trying to figure out what's happening. And that water? Gone. And here's the part nobody tells you about. Even if water is still trickling, you cannot trust it. Without power, water treatment plants go offline. Chlorination stops, filtration stops. The water in your pipe could be carrying E. coli, cryptosporidium, and chemical runoff with zero way to know. Boiling water requires fire. Fire requires fuel. Fuel requires preparation. Can you see where this chain breaks? Fill your bathtub immediately when you lose power, before pressure drops. A water bob bladder holds 100 gallons in a standard tub. A Life straw or Sawyer filter is not optional. It's your backup kidney. And if you're in a high-rise, you need to know water pumps in buildings above 6 stories are entirely electric. You may have no water at all. Number 2, sewage, the silent biohazard. People don't like talking about sewage, so let's talk about it. America's sewage system runs on lift stations, electric pump systems that push waste uphill toward treatment plants. No power? Those pumps stop. Waste backs up. Fast. In dense urban areas, this means sewage begins backing into streets, basements, and in some cases, storm drains that flow to the same waterways people fish and swim in. 90,000 plus sewage overflow events reported in the U.S. annually, most caused by infrastructure failures. This isn't just disgusting, it's a genuine disease vector. We're talking cholera-level risk in a modern American city if this goes unmanaged for more than a week. The 1993 cryptosporidium outbreak in Milwaukee, where the water treatment system partially failed, infected over 400,000 people. Grid down is far worse. Stop flushing toilets the moment grid goes down, unless you know your building has gravity-fed sewage. A composting toilet, a camping toilet with enzyme bags, or even a 5-gallon bucket system with proper sanitation bags can save your family from a nightmare scenario. Lime powder. Learn it. Store it. Number 3. Gas stations, the fleet that runs on electricity. Here's a fact that sounds impossible until you think about it. America has hundreds of millions of gallons of gasoline stored underground, and you cannot access a single drop of it without electricity. Every gas pump in America runs on an electric motor. Every payment terminal, every underground tank sensor. Grid goes down. Every gas station in your city becomes a useless metal island sitting on top of fuel you can't touch. 38 miles average Americans' daily commute distance, meaning most people have less than one tank of gas when a blackout hits. And here's how this cascades. Emergency responders need fuel, supply trucks need fuel, generators need fuel. Within 48 to 72 hours of a major grid failure, fuel availability becomes a crisis, not from shortage, but from access failure. After Hurricane Katrina, gas lines stretched for miles. People fought, people were robbed, people ran out before they reached the pump, and that was a localized disaster. A national grid failure is a different universe. Keep your tank above half, always. Store stabilized fuel in approved containers. PRI-G, treated fuel stores for up to 5 years. A hand pump siphon kit can be a lifesaver in a true grid failure scenario. And if you run a generator, your supply plan needs to be set up before the crisis, not during it. Number 4, medical devices and hospitals. The 72-hour clock. This is the one that has taken lives in modern America. Pay attention, hospitals have backup generators. That's the reassuring lie people tell themselves. Here's what they don't tell you. Those generators run on diesel. That diesel lasts 72 to 96 hours. After that, without resupply, they go dark. And resupply requires functioning roads, functioning communication, and functioning government, none of which are guaranteed in a major grid failure. 3 million plus Americans who depend on electrically powered home medical equipment, ventilators, oxygen concentrators, dialysis machines. A ventilator without power is a decoration. An oxygen concentrator without power is a paperweight. A dialysis patient without power has 3 days, maybe 5, before their kidneys fail completely. After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, over 2,900 excess deaths were attributed to the prolonged grid failure, not the storm itself. The storm lasted hours. The grid failure lasted months. Insulin requires refrigeration. EpiPens have heat tolerances. Blood pressure medications need to be managed on schedule. When the grid goes down, pharmacy systems go offline. Electronic prescriptions vanish. Refills become impossible. If you or anyone in your household depends on powered medical equipment, you need a plan right now. That means a battery backup rated for your device's power draw, a manual or mechanical backup where possible, a 30-day medication stockpile, and a designated evacuation trigger point, knowing exactly when you need to move before the situation becomes critical. Talk to your doctor about extended prescriptions. Most will work with you if you explain the preparedness context. Number 5. Communication. The digital blackout inside the blackout. Your smartphone is the most powerful survival tool ever created and the most fragile. Cell towers have backup battery systems. In most cases, they last 4 to 8 hours on battery alone. After that, they need generator support. In a regional grid failure, carriers triage which towers get generator support. Your neighborhood may not make the list. Landlines? Most of America's landline infrastructure was converted to VoIP years ago. VoIP requires power. No power, no dial tone. Cable internet? Dead. Fiber? Dead. Satellite internet? Maybe if you have a Starlink dish and it's charged. 97% percentage of Americans who rely on wireless communication as primary contact? All of it electricity dependent. And here's the terrifying ripple effect. Without communications, you can't coordinate. You can't know if help is coming. You can't warn family. You can't access emergency broadcasts. You are, for all practical purposes, alone. After September 11th, New York's cell networks collapsed under simultaneous demand. After Hurricane Harvey, Entire emergency response teams lost contact for hours. Imagine that, nationwide. A Midland ER310 emergency hand crank radio costs under $40 and receives NOAA weather alerts, AM, FM, and emergency broadcasts, no grid required. A Baofeng UV5R handheld ham radio lets you communicate across a region if you or a neighbor has a license. At minimum, own a solar or hand crank charger for your phone. At best, build a full off-grid comms kit number 6, grocery stores, 72 hours to empty shelves. America's grocery supply chain is an engineering masterpiece that completely falls apart without electricity. Supermarkets carry, on average, 3 days of inventory. That's it. They rely on a system called just-in-time delivery. Trucks arrive constantly, shelves are restocked constantly, and nothing is stored in massive bulk. No power means refrigerated trucks stop running. Cold storage at distribution centers goes dark. Perishables are gone within hours. 3 days average food inventory in a typical American grocery store, most of it dependent on refrigeration. What happened after Hurricane Irma in 2017 showed exactly how fast this breaks. Within 24 hours of the storm warning, bread was gone. Within 48 hours, water was gone. Within 72 hours, most stores had closed entirely, and that was with the grid still partially operational and supply trucks still running. In a true extended grid failure, the supply chain stops completely. Truckers won't drive without fuel they can't get. Distribution centers won't function without power. Refrigeration fails on everything. The food is out there. It just can't reach you. Your food storage isn't about being paranoid. It's about bridging the gap. A 30-day supply of shelf-stable food for your household is achievable, affordable, and will matter more than anything else if this happens. Freeze-dried meals have a 25-year shelf life. Mylar-sealed beans and rice cost pennies per day. A hand-powered grain mill turns whole wheat into flour without electricity. And remember, the food you eat every day is the best emergency food. Rotate your pantry, not just a dust-covered pile in the corner. Number 7, law and order. What happens when the system goes dark? This is the one people don't want to say out loud, so let's say it clearly and calmly. Law enforcement infrastructure is electricity dependent. 911 dispatch centers run on power. Radio repeater networks run on power. Traffic control systems, surveillance cameras, alarm monitoring centers, prison security systems, all of it power. Most police departments have backup generators. Most for a limited time. But here's the human reality. In a prolonged, widespread grid failure, law enforcement resources get overwhelmed rapidly. 911 emergency systems went down in multiple states during the 2003 Northeast blackout, affecting 55 million people for up to 2 days. After Hurricane Katrina, some officers left. Some simply couldn't reach their posts. The city experienced a breakdown of civil order that lasted for days in certain areas. The lesson isn't the police will abandon you. The lesson is response times will increase. Resources will be stretched. And your safety, to a larger degree than normal, becomes your own responsibility. This isn't doom prepping, this is math. The most powerful deterrent in a grid-down scenario isn't a weapon, it's community. Know your neighbors. Form a block-level communication plan. Have a mutual aid agreement. Who has what skills, what supplies, what backup. A community that knows each other is exponentially harder to victimize than isolated households. And yes, understanding your legal rights around home defense in your state and having the means to exercise them if necessary is a legitimate part of a complete preparedness plan. 7 systems, all invisible when they work, all catastrophic when they stop. Running water, sewage, fuel access, medical infrastructure, communication, food supply, civil order. Here's what I want you to take away from this. You are not helpless. You are just unprepared. And those are two completely different things. The difference between a crisis and a catastrophe is almost always preparation, made before the crisis begins. Every single one of these systems has a manual backup, a low-tech solution, a way for you and your family to bridge the gap until the grid comes back, or to thrive if it doesn't. That's what we do here on American Blackout TV. We take the complicated, the scary, and the ignored, and we turn it into something you can actually do. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know, hit that subscribe button, because the next video is going to go deep on exactly what a 30-day home survival setup looks like and how to build it for under $300. Drop a comment below. Which of these 7 systems surprised you the most? I read every single one. And share this video with someone who thinks preparedness is only for doomsayers. Because this is just being a responsible adult in the 21st century. I'll see you in the next one. Stay ready.